So, I am going to talk about something that you probably have not learned about in church. It's about the pole shift in Revelations. And we're going to start with Revelation 6:13. And the stars of heaven fell to the earth as a fig tree drops its late leaves when shaken by a mighty wind. Then the sky receded as a scroll when it is rolled up, and every mountain and island was moved out of place. Could this be the upcoming pole shift? Could this upcoming pole shift be the very reason the ultra-rich elite and governments of the world have spent billions of taxpayers' money to build vast underground structures which they believe will protect them and their chosen from the terrible destruction that will occur here on Earth? Could the construction of these underground bases explain the mysterious booms that have been reported all over the United States? Revelation 6:15, and the kings of the earth, the great men, the rich men, the commanders, the mighty men, every slave and every free man hid themselves in caves and in the rocks in the mountains. Well, here are the facts, and I will let you decide for yourself. A top-secret meeting was held in 1983 where the world leaders and Illuminati members gathered to hear what scientists had discovered about Planet X. They were all informed of the death and destruction that will come upon the Earth when Planet X comes flying through the solar system. In other words, they were all informed a pole shift would take place. The general consensus at the meeting was that the general public should not be told, and a blanket of secrecy should be imposed upon all those who were privy to this information. It was also agreed upon that no further news releases should be made about Planet X, and to deny its existence. This might explain why all information on NIBRU has been scraped off the internet. This is why representatives of our government still continue to lie to this day about the existence of Planet X. Yet these same governments have built numerous underground facilities all over the world. They are all stocked with vast amounts of food, water, fine wines, medicines, clothing, and gold and silver. One would have to ask, if Planet X is not real and is not coming, then why such preparations? Many ask, well, if this planet is getting close, wouldn't I be able to see it? And the answer is yes. However, the chemtrails that they seem to do every day and over every town are masking the incoming planet. Again, I have to ask government officials, why spend billions of dollars trying to cover up something that you say doesn't exist? According to expert Alfred Lambert, both Cliff High's predictions and Dr. Courtney Brown's remote viewing probes are all referring to an impact of a brown dwarf star twin to our sun. Commonly called the lost star of time and also known as NIBRU or Planet X. All of the events are described in the Bible. When he opened the seventh seal, there was silence in heaven for about half an hour. And I saw the 7 angels who stand before God, and to them were given 7 trumpets. So the 7 trumpets who had the 7 angels who had the 7 trumpets prepared themselves to sound. The first angel sounded, and hail and fire followed, mingled with blood, and they were thrown to the earth. And a third of the trees were burned up, and all the green grass was burned up. This clearly describes a pole shift due to Planet X coming into our atmosphere. Let's examine this further. If you rip apart the atmosphere of the Earth from a pole shift, you are now exposed to the upper atmosphere. If a CME blast from the sun coronal mass injection now makes it to Earth because its magnetosphere has been altered, in other words, what is protecting the Earth is now down, at that point it would make us very susceptible to solar winds. The CME from the sun, that is the fire. Then, as it approaches the upper atmosphere, the 270 degrees Celsius temperature of the outside freezing space, which now touches the upper atmosphere, which is basically water vapor, that is your ice. Next, what is instantly vaporized? The 43,000 airplanes that are flying in the air at any given moment, all of the people aboard, and all of the flying birds and animals in the air, this being mingled with blood. You are now looking at a sequence of events that is now headed towards Earth. The great sequence of events described in the Bible clearly describes a CME blast that will literally destroy a third of our planet. The second angel sounded, and something like a great mountain burning with fire was thrown into the sea, and a third of the sea became blood. And a third of the living creatures in the sea died, and a third of the ships were destroyed. Then the third angel sounded, and a great star fell from heaven, burning like a torch, and it fell on a third of the rivers and the spring water. The name of the star is Wormwood. A third of the waters became wormwood, and many men died from the water because it was made bitter. Again, all events are in sequential order after a pole shift. You would have small asteroids hitting the land and hitting the sea, followed by a very large asteroid, which is referred to as wormwood. The fourth angel sounded, and a third of the sun was struck, a third of the moon, and a third of the stars. So the third of them were darkened, a third of the day did not shine, and likewise the night. The event described by the fourth angel actually describes the speeding up of the planet. The asteroid Wormwood hits our planet at an angle, so our time would be altered. This ultimately would alter the spin of the Earth, thus our days and nights would be altered. So these were recent events that happened August 2024. We basically had some CMEs that were earthbound. They were an M class that were directly headed towards Earth. So basically, for those of you that don't know, a flare is an eruption of energy from the sun that generally lasts minutes to hours. Flares of this magnitude are not frequent. So what the effects of these flares, basically users of high frequency radio signals may experience temporary outages and blackouts. So the one on August, or the beginning of August, was an X1, and the X-class solar flares are the most powerful class of solar flares. Now, a destination is followed by a number 1 through 9. So this was actually, 9 is going to be the highest, and this was an X1.3. So making this video, I did not make this video to promote fear. I actually made a video on Revelations back in 2013. I did the entire Revelations, and now this one, I'm breaking it apart and focusing on certain aspects of Revelations because it's such a long book of the Bible and very confusing for most people. This video, it's not to promote fear, but to bring the promise of a new earth. So I'd like to remind people that a third of the stars are darkened. And I always remind people, did not a third of the fallen angels fall from heaven? A third of the moon will be darkened, as our moon has been hijacked and used as a puppet and will now be finally set free, as will the people of this earth. Heaven will now be on earth, as above, so below. And I want to remind people that even though this pole shift may cause a lot of damage and a lot of death, I want to remind everybody that we are immortal, and those that do not make it through the pole shift will continue on and probably be brought back to the new earth, probably in a different life, or to restart where they left off. So we have to keep things in a more positive light. There is a lot of activity. If you start watching the skies, there's a lot of solar flares happening. Nobody knows the exact date or time, but I wanted to give a more positive perspective on the pole shift and kind of point that out because I don't see a lot of people talking about the pole shift in Revelations.